you're fortunate like me, in your backyard you have an apple tree, and if not, this is the time of year when apples are becoming very popular at every market. They are just such a delicious treat, and I'm really fortunate to have a tree in my backyard. So today on Jay's World Kitchen, I'm going to show you a wonderfully quick, easy and very tasty recipe for an apple cinnamon bread that you can make at home in just a few minutes of effort. So we're going to start off by preheating our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're also going to take a 5 by 9 inch pan. We're going to grease that and lightly flour it and just set it aside until we're ready for it. Next, we're going to need 1/3 of a cup of brown sugar and 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and we're just going to combine those two very simply together and give it a little stir. We want to make sure that it's quite well mixed up and incorporated together. And once those are well mixed together, we're going to put that aside as well. Now, in a slightly larger mixing bowl, we're going to add a 1/2 cup of softened butter. And to that, we're going to add 2/3 of a cup of plain white sugar. And just using an electric mixer or a stand mixer if you prefer, we're going to beat this until it's quite smooth and creamy. And when it's quite light and fluffy like that, we're going to add in 2 eggs, but one at a time, and just beat them in. And into that, we're going to add 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and then just beat that in. And now we're just going to set that aside for just a moment. And now into 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, we're going to stir in 1 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder. And we just want to make sure that that's quite well combined, so it's quite evenly distributed through there, and there's no lumps, especially in that baking powder. Now once that's combined, just set that aside, and we're going to start combining that into our butter mixture. Just a little at a time to start, and stir it in. Now of course, like I said, you can do this in a stand mixer if you prefer. Sometimes it's just easier to do it in a bowl. Now it's going to thicken up quite considerably, and that's okay, because now we're going to add just 1/2 of a cup of milk. And we're going to add it a little at a time and stir that in, because we do want to make sure it's nice and smooth. Now if you're enjoying this video, please remember to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and remember to turn on notifications so that you know when my next video posts. And as we're adding that milk, we just want to make sure that everything's well combined before we add a little bit more. And we want to make sure as well that we're trying to sort of scrape down the sides and get everything incorporated into this batter. And you're going to end up with quite a sort of stiff batter that, kind of holds a shape sort of briefly, but that's exactly what we want. And now for the fun part. In our pan, we're going to start by just putting about 1/2 of our batter into the bottom. And I'm just doing it a little at a time, but of course you can pour it in if you want. Again, you don't have to measure this out. It can just be roughly about 1/2 of your batter. You just want to try and smooth that and make sure it goes into all the corners in a relatively even layer, although it really doesn't matter too much. And now we're going to use some diced apple now, and really this is probably about 1 large apple. The apples on my tree are a little bit small, so I actually cheated and used 2, but you just want to kind of dice it up into between 1/4 and 1/2 inch dice, and then we're just going to pop some of those across on this layer like that. Not all of it, we only want to use about 1/2. And now onto that, we're going to sprinkle some of our brown sugar and cinnamon mix that we made earlier. And honestly, that smells absolutely amazing. I'm quite excited to try this. And now on top of that, we're going to add the rest of our batter. And just like before, we're going to spread it out and try and get it across our pan as evenly as we possibly can. But again, it doesn't have to be perfect. And once all of our batter is in there, we're going to top that with the rest of our apple. And again, if you want to, you can make these even smaller. I kind of like a good chunk of apple in mine. Spread them about kind of as evenly as you possibly can. You may just want to sort of pat some of them down into that batter. And now we're going to sprinkle it with the rest of our brown sugar and cinnamon mix. Now you can, if you want, just sort of mix this in very slightly into the batter. I just sort of like to tamp it down a little bit just to make sure that some of it's getting in there. But I know some people do like to sort of swirl it as well. And just the final remnants of our brown sugar and cinnamon. And that's all the effort that this recipe takes. Now we're going to pop that into our 350 degree Fahrenheit oven, and we're going to bake it for between 30 and 40 minutes until a toothpick inserted in the center comes out clean. And while that's in the oven, I would simply like to take a moment to say a big thank you to all of my supporters on Patreon. Without their financial support, this channel would absolutely not be possible. Now, if you'd like to find out more about Patreon and how you can support this channel financially from as little as $5 a month, please click on the Patreon link down below in the comment section. It's really easy to sign up and start supporting today. Now, once this came out of the oven, I did leave it just to cool off for a while on a cooling rack, and the smell is still quite strong. It really is nice. Now, what I love about this is that you get this sort of like very sort of caramelized crust on the top here. You can see apple throughout it and some of that cinnamon, and I can definitely see the benefit of swirling it, but of course I didn't do that. I'm just going to give this a little taste from the side here. That's amazing. Obviously you can taste the cinnamon in there and the apple in there, but it's light and quite moist, almost like a cake. The flavor is incredible, quick and easy. This makes a great treat for any occasion. If you tried this recipe, please remember to comment in the comment section down below how this recipe turned out for you and what you did to make it uniquely yours. Now, if you'd like to see some more of my content, you can follow me on all of my social media, and those links are below down in the comments section. Now, if you'd like to try one of my other favorite recipes to do with apples, you can click on this playlist here for Mom's Apple Dessert. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, happy eating.